Get ready. Coach Prime, Deion Sanders, quarterback Shedeur Sanders, defensive back Shiloh Sanders. They all come to Lincoln, Nebraska to face freshman phenom Dylan Raiola and the Nebraska Huskers on a national stage. It doesn't get any better than this. Locked on Big Ten starts right now.
You are Locked On Big Ten, your daily podcast on the Big Ten Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Big Ten. I'm Craig Sheeman. Coming up on 40 years as a sports talk show host and play-by-play announcer, and I want to thank you for making us your first listen each and every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and get started. So it's Colorado and Nebraska. One of two humongous games in the Big Ten this week. Of course, Texas is at Michigan. We got Big Ten news, players of the week, and our power rankings. First one of the regular season. We'll rank them all 1 through 18 right here on Locked On Big Ten. This is going to take a lot of oxygen. A lot of oxygen is going to get sucked out of Lincoln, Nebraska this week, heading into Saturday's game between Deion Sanders and the Colorado Buffaloes and Matt Rhule's Nebraska Huskers. First of all, the game is going to be played on national TV in prime time, 7:30 kickoff on NBC. And, oh, by the way, Locked On Big Ten will go live. We do this after big games on Saturdays. We'll go live on our YouTube channel immediately after the final whistle of that game. Going to be about 10:50, 11 p.m. Eastern time, actually. But anyway, we'll get back to that later. Anytime anything involves Deion Sanders, it seems to get a lot of attention. We're talking about it, right? That goes for his son, Colorado quarterback Shedeur Sanders, too. But there's going to be some attention on the Huskers. Going to be fighting for attention with this deal, right? First of all, I think Matt Rhule's team is really good. It's been built the right way. Players get developed at Nebraska, right? They're not just jettisoned off and replaced by portal players. By the way, more on that in a moment, since we are talking about Colorado, right? Deion and Shedeur, they get a lot of attention, and this Saturday's national attention will also focus on Nebraska freshman phenom quarterback Dylan Raiola for a good reason. He's the real deal. He's fun to watch. He's going to be a superstar, and all 86,000 people who will fill Memorial Stadium know it. They're there for the show. They'd be there anyway because they always sell out, but they're there for the show now. Raiola is talented. He's entertaining. He doesn't get rattled, and he's going to be Nebraska's starting quarterback for the foreseeable future. So think about that for a minute. He was verbally committed to Georgia, where had he gone there, he would have sat behind Carson Beck. At Nebraska, he gets to play right away. He's good enough to play right away. Nothing's being forced ahead of schedule. Nothing was promised. Just, hey, you're a freshman. All right, but we're going to play if you come here. He's good. He's the best quarterback on the team. So Husker fans, just sit back and enjoy the show. Now, let's bring on the Buffaloes from Colorado. Hey, compare this hype to last year when Coach Prime and Shedeur and the media, they took a pretty simple comment going into this game last year by Matt Rhule about the transfer portal, and they turned it into a big old motivation for this game that the Buffaloes won 36 to, was it 14? I'm going by memory there. I think it was 36-14. Rhule was asked to compare his approach to building a team with Coach Prime. Remember, he's kicking everybody off the team at Colorado. He just took the job, and he just took all the players he inherited, and he just jettisoned them. Get out of here. College kids. And he replaced them all through the transfer portal. We never seen anything like that on that scale ever in college football. The portal had been used. The portal's still relatively new, but it had been used to just supplement players here and there. You need a receiver? Good. All right. You need a quarterback? You're just graduated? Let's get another one instead of breaking in a freshman. But he just brought in dozens and dozens of players and just completely rebuilt his team from the portal. And, like I said, we never seen anything like it before. And Deion virtually created an entire new roster that way. Matt Rhule simply said that was not how he wanted to build a team at Nebraska. He wanted to build a roster a different way, recruit kids and develop kids. That's the Nebraska way. Now, Deion and Shedeur, they decided that Rhule was taking a shot at them. They thought the comments were personal shots at them. They weren't, but they pretended it was, and they were motivated by it. They said so. Anybody who knows Matt Rhule, or at least follows him, knows he wouldn't take personal shots at anybody. It's just not his style. By the way, he's been very tight-lipped this week, not saying anything controversial. But the Sanders seem to like that fake motivation thing, the fake outrage. They like to feel it's the world against them or them against everybody, even when it's not. So even last week, after the Buffaloes, they barely got by FCS North Dakota State, Coach Prime looked at the media and said, yeah, a lot of you guys are not happy that we won this game. They wanted the big story that Deion failed. He wanted to, he said, some of you are more mad that we didn't lose, all that kind of, he just kept going on and on with those kind of comments in his post game. And then he went on to say, he said, you'll have to wait for next week for that, I guess. Well, maybe. Okay. Husker fans would be all about that, putting the beat down on Deion and Colorado. Maybe they'll give them what they want. And the Husker fans will take a win and a Buffs loss on this one. Now, last year's game had no bearing on what's coming up here this Saturday. The Buffaloes only won 4 games last year, and the Huskers game was one of them, unfortunately, for Nebraska. But Nebraska was not very good at the very beginning of the season in 2023. But they turned into one. I thought they turned into good. They just had too many turnovers, cost them some close games, and that was the difference between being a bowl team and not being a bowl team. And they were very rudderless at quarterback, right? Not the problem anymore. Last week against UTEP, they had just 1 turnover, by the way. So, and they're no longer rudderless at quarterback with Raiola. Raiola doesn't seem human, to be honest. And you would think a 19-year-old kid coming out, making his first start, would have a little nervousness at the start. He didn't show it. He made, and just right away, opening drive, making long throws, checking down to the right throw after the second or third read on the short throws. He made the 3/4 angle throw with the arm that he no doubt perfected working out with Patrick Mahomes. Even Patrick Mahomes saw it and tweeted something out about it. He can do it all. Even kind of looks like Patrick Mahomes just a little. Another item might work in Nebraska's favor on Saturday night. Colorado's defense is still horrible. I'll say it. It stinks. Raiola's greatness aside, the Huskers averaged over 11 yards per carry on the ground last week. More of that, please, this week against Colorado. I think it's very doable. And while we knocked on Colorado just a little bit here, they do have 2 bona fide top 5, top 10 at the worst, top 5 at the best NFL draft picks on their team, right? With Shedeur Sanders at quarterback and his favorite target and two-way player, Travis Hunter. By the way, I thought last year for sure Hunter would be a corner in the NFL. Now I'm wondering if wide receiver will be a specific. Wide receivers are getting paid these days. I'm kind of curious because he won't play both ways. At least maybe he'll dabble on a play or two, but he won't play both ways in the NFL. Kind of curious to see which way he goes. But the Huskers will have to try and get pressure on Sanders. He is pretty elusive back there in the pockets, one of his strengths. My bet is on double teaming Travis Hunter all night long. Don't let him out of your sight. And in the end, this game is pretty pivotal when you look at it a couple of ways. Nebraska win would be a nice feather in Matt Rhule's cap and a small stepping stone forward for Nebraska. For Colorado, win or lose, there's going to be a lot of media talk surrounding this. If the Buffs win, Coach Prime may point out that, they also beat Nebraska last year and the haters are going to hate, yada, yada, yada. If they lose, it'll be a sign like last year that they cannot beat good teams. And this year, Nebraska is a good team. All right. So love to get your comments on all that. Be sure to subscribe and follow and share and like Locked On Big Ten for free wherever you get your podcast. That way you get the latest episode of this podcast as soon as it becomes available each and every day. By the way, crazy weekend, right? A lot of people are still discovering us. On, let's see, we had the LSU Southern Cal game Sunday. Sunday to Monday, this podcast picked up over 300 new subscribers in one day. And obviously, it's a lot of new people out west, some USC fans who are just getting used to the Big Ten thing and have just discovered us. So thank you very much. By the way, many of you spoke. If you're watching on video, if you're on audio only, I'm going to explain this. You notice I have a bunch of pennants behind me on the wall. Well, beforehand, we had USC. We had all the West Coast teams over here on this right wall. And a lot of you are complaining you couldn't see the USC banner because of my name and the Twitter banner on this thing. So we moved it. A more prominent location for the USC Trojans right over my shoulder. We're expecting big things out of them this year. Did it for you. The people spoke. I listened and react. There you go. In the meantime, whether it's USC or whether it's Nebraska gear, hats, T-shirts, pennants, you can get them right on our website, by the way. TalkBig10.com. That's where we put all of our podcasts in chronological order, and we group them by team. This one will be under Nebraska since we start talking about the Huskers. And then you can find all your favorite teams' gear right there as well. Talk Big 10, the number 10, talkbig10.com. All right, we got Big Ten news, big news around the conference. We'll get to that and some kudos for the players of the week this past week. Been pretty busy. Wanted to get to that and give people their shout outs as well. And then our first, do this every week during the season, our first in-season power rankings, 1 through 18. We'll find out where your favorite team ended up in just a minute right here on Locked On Big Ten. Passion, drive, and patience. The formula of winning championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. And more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered with over 122 million parts. For your number one ride or die, you'll find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back, because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need and all the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit, only available to U.S. customers. I want to thank you for making Locked On Big Ten your first listen each and every day, especially you everydayers out there. Meanwhile, be sure to subscribe, like, share, and follow. Share it with somebody. You know people out there that are into the Big Ten that don't know we're here every day. Subscribe and share and follow and like Locked On Big Ten, your team every day. And don't forget our website, talkbig10.com. Also, college football, into the swing of things now. It's never too late to catch up from the previous week going into the next week. Get ready for week 2, SEC, ACC, Big 10, Big 12. You can get it all from Locked On stable of college experts by subscribing to the Locked On College Football podcast. And you got a chance to make a playoff, your favorite team making the playoff? Let's talk about it. It's all on this kind of stuff. Everything you need to know, all in one place. Be sure to share and follow and like and subscribe Locked On College Football's podcast as well. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We're there everywhere. All right. Like I said, it's been a busy couple of days, so we wanted to take a moment to throw some props in the direction of some players from the first week of the season. First of all, USC quarterback Miller Moss. Again, USC, phenomenal. A great game against LSU. He was the Big Ten Offensive Player of the Week for his efforts in their win over LSU. Threw for 378 yards, had a touchdown. Only a touchdown, right? His last game in the Holiday Bowl, he threw 6. Just one against LSU, but it was a very important one. Very good. He led the Trojans on that 8-play, 75-yard drive to seal the win. And I say welcome to the Big Ten, USC fans. All right. The Defensive Player of the Week, Kevin Winston Jr. at Penn State. He tied a career high with 12 tackles and a forced fumble against West Virginia. We had 2. We had co-special teams players of the week. Kicker Mateen Baghani. He went 3 for 3 on field goals, including a game-winning 32-yarder in the final minute against Hawaii. And Michigan has themselves a kicker. A lot of question marks at Michigan, but not a kicker. Dominic Zvada made 3 field goals versus Fresno State, including one of 53 and 55 yards. And they were much needed. That was a close game till midway through in the fourth quarter. And no surprise here, Nebraska's quarterback Dylan Raiola was the freshman of the week in the Big Ten. Congratulations to all of them. It was a fantastic first weekend. The Big Ten went 17-1. Minnesota, let that game go against North Carolina. Minnesota, the only team to lose. 17-1, the Big Ten in week one. Very, very impressive. Now, even though everybody else won, there are some rumblings among the winning teams. For example, I saw a lot of chatter among Oregon Duck fans over the 24-14 win over Idaho. Look, a win is a win, right? Good job. You win, you move on. But I think, and I think you think, fans expected a bigger blowout given all the Ducks' lofty expectations this season. Obviously, a lot of people, myself included, have them in the Big Ten championship and then into the playoffs. And people within the organization, they're thinking national championship. They are. So too many penalties, lack of sustained running attack that stalled a couple of drives. Quarterback Dylan Gabriel put up some big numbers. If you just looked at that, you might scratch your head. Thought, this is kind of a low-scoring game. That's weird because he completed 41 of 49 passes, threw the ball 49 times, completed 41. I believe that's an Oregon record. But even he admitted that the Ducks were their own worst enemy at times. So they got to clean some things up. As for the running game, the Ducks had just 107 yards, 2.9 per carry. And here's the weird stat of the day. The Ducks finished with 487 yards of offense and 31 first downs. Again, you would expect a lot more scoring. But they only had 3 plays of more than 20 yards. Last year's Ducks team averaged 5.6 plays of 20 yards or more per game. This time, too much short stuff, too much dink and dunk. That was a criticism of Bo Nix. He had the high passing completion percentage. Well, Dylan Gabriel took advantage of the same system. Had some big numbers, but again, they didn't score a lot of points. Up next is a potentially explosive Boise State team coming into Autzen Stadium. We'll see how that works out. Speaking of disappointment, despite the Wolverines win this past weekend versus Fresno State, Michigan struggled at quarterback. Davis Warren got the start. That was a surprise. Alex Orji played, but he struggled. And, the team's still trying to figure out what to do post J.J. McCarthy from last year's national championship team. There's still quarterback Jack Tuttle, who's entering his 7th year of college football. Now, he was ruled out in week 1 due to injury. And, it got me thinking. Sharon Moore in Michigan, they were very, very cagey. They're very secretive, if you will, as to who the starting quarterback was going to be up until the last minute. And a part of me kind of wondered if maybe Sharon Moore was waiting because he was waiting to see if maybe Jack Tuttle was going to be cleared to play. Maybe he was going to be the starter. And then when they learned that he wasn't, then they had to make the decision to go to Davis Warren and then use Alex Orji, who still looks like he's going to be used in spot situations like he was with J.J. McCarthy. Very surprised by that whole rotation last week. So stay tuned for that. And in maybe the biggest game of the country next week, it will involve Michigan. They're hosting the Texas Longhorns, visiting the Wolverines in the Big House on national TV. Wolverines fans are planning a bright maze out at the stadium. Hopefully 107,000 fans will be able to hang around to the finish. Last week in Michigan's 30-10 win over Fresno State, 27 fans were ejected. 10 were from disorderly conduct, 9 for intoxication. There was a fight, 1 ejection for a misuse of an M card. Now, as we previewed last week, there's something else here. This was the first game at the Big House where alcohol sales were allowed. It included beer and wine and canned cocktails. In all, there were 126 Michigan Stadium ejections during the 7 home games all of last year. So the 2024 pace is well ahead of last year's schedule. Since the Texas game is at noon, last week's game kicked off at 7:30, maybe the fans at Michigan and in Ann Arbor won't be as fueled up by the time kickoff starts. Maybe. Just throwing that out there as a possibility. All right. Let me know what you think. Hit me up on the comments on YouTube and, of course, Twitter as well. And coming up in 1 minute, we will have our first in-season power rankings 1 through 18. All the football teams in the Big Ten based on what I think, based on what I saw over the weekend. We'll see if you agree. That's next right here on Locked On Big Ten. FanDuel. You've heard us talk about FanDuel. It's America's #1 sports book. And got a little something different for you here now through September 22nd. All FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Then with a YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out-of-market game. All you need is a Google account and a current form of payment, and you can cancel anytime. Just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to download America's #1 sportsbook. Got some action for you here. FanDuel, Wednesday night. Take the Phillies over the Blue Jays and the Nationals over the Marlins. Of course, we're going to take the O's over the White Sox. They stink. But the Twins over the Rays. And then I like the over number on Rockies at Braves. Again, that is FanDuel.com/lockedon. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. All right, it is time to take a look at our power rankings and unveil them. We had a little preseason one. We've moved some teams around based on what we saw here in the first weekend. And again, these will move. Some teams are on the rise. And keep in mind, some teams play tougher teams than other. Like the Trojans played a ranked team at LSU. Other teams play, FCS team. Whatever the case is, we'll just kind of use the eyeball test week 1. Let you know what we think. So we're going to put it on screen if you're audio only on audio podcasts, and let's discuss, shall we? All right. After 1 week, Locked On Big Ten likes Ohio State to remain #1. I dropped Oregon down a little bit temporarily until I figure out what's going on. We got Penn State moving up to #2. That's right. If the Big Ten championship were set today, it'd be Ohio State and Penn State based on these power rankings. But we got USC right there at #3. They were very impressive taking on. They're on the rise here after beating LSU. So we'll see how things go there. They may even go even higher. I've got Michigan at #4. This is going to tell us a lot about what Michigan is. The Fresno State game was interesting. They looked like they struggled for 3.5 quarters, and then they looked like their regular selves in the last 8 or 9 minutes of that game. And I also remind you that last year, when they took on some of these lesser teams like UNLV or whatnot, those games were around 32-6 and 30-7. So 30-10 over Fresno State, a team that Michigan finally wore down at the end and got and beat up on Fresno at the end, broke open a close game. So let's not hit the panic button yet, but we got to decide what's going on at quarterback. And we got to get more out of the running game if you're Michigan. And I think you need a wide receiver to step up. There's a lot of things that you need, Michigan. So right now, holding at 4. We'll see after the Texas game where we really think they are. Got Nebraska there at #5. Knocking on the door. They're going to beat Colorado. They're going to beat Colorado. All right. Oregon at #7. I dropped them down a little bit from 2 down to 7. Again, penalties, lack of running game. Let's figure this out. Let's get a few more chunk plays instead of the nickel and dime stuff. And let's be the Oregon that we think Oregon is going to be. All right. Rutgers at #8. They look pretty solid on Thursday. Man, it seems like forever ago, last Thursday. Got the Washington Huskies at #9 and the Wisconsin Badgers rounding out our top 10 of our power rankings. Here's the best of the rest. Illinois coming in at #11. The Maryland Terps putting a 50 spot on the board last weekend at 12. The Indiana Hoosiers. Kurt Cignetti gets his first win as the head coach of the Hoosiers. Purdue also 1-0. Got them at #14. Northwestern won against Miami of Ohio. Beautiful scenery on Lake Michigan with their new makeshift stadium there. It holds 15,000 people on the old soccer field right there on the lake. Gorgeous looking, but the football was not gorgeous. It was not good football. So got them at #15, but they got to win. And like I said earlier in the week, they're 7 wins away from their mark of 8 wins last year. Off to a good start. UCLA went out to Hawaii. They had a luau, cooked a pig, all that kind of stuff, hula dancing. And then they went out and won. They fell down by 10 points. Too much poi. And then they ended up coming back and then kicking a last-minute field goal to win over Hawaii. So UCLA is on the board. Michigan State, Aiden Childs. I was expecting them to be a little better. Didn't Aiden Childs say, hey, take the over on our game? And they didn't come close. And then Minnesota, the only team to lose in the Big Ten this week, lost to North Carolina. Frankly, it was a game they should have won. But we got them at number 18. So there you have it. Those are our first power rankings. We do these every Wednesday. We have a feature at the end of every podcast. Top 10 observations on Mondays, Tuesday tweets. Wednesdays, we do the power rankings. Thursdays, we look ahead to the Big Ten schedule, live programming, and Big Ten classics on the Big Ten Network. And on Fridays, we do our pigskin picks. But there they are. For in between week 1 and week 2, our power rankings of all the football teams in the Big Ten. Let me know what you think. Maybe you think I got them out of order. Let's hear it from you. Hit me up on Twitter or the comments on YouTube, especially. Love to hear from you on all that. Many ways for you to interact with this podcast on Twitter at Talk Big Ten, the comments on YouTube, and also our website, which if you're on video, you can see it scroll on the bottom, talkbig10.com, where all of our podcasts go. And also you could buy merchandise from your favorite team right there. Be sure to subscribe. Like I told you, we had 300 new subscribers between Sunday and Monday. It's incredible. Thank you for joining us. If you haven't yet, subscribe and then follow, and please share. If you watch us every day or once a week or a couple times here and there, let your Big Ten friends and alumni friends, let them know we're out here. Word of mouth. Share it. Say, hey, this guy's on every day talking Big Ten. See if you like it. Would really appreciate it. So subscribe, follow, and share this podcast right now on your favorite podcast app, and you'll get the latest episode of Locked On Big Ten as soon as it becomes available each and every day. After this one, check out another one. Go get caught up with some of our other podcasts right in order on the website here from Locked On Big Ten. Then maybe a second listen with our friends at Locked On College Football as they cover everything, not just the Big Ten, throughout college football. It's our friends over there at Locked On College Football, available on YouTube and wherever you get your podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. That'll do it. Another episode in the books. It's a blast. Thank you for joining us. I never take that for granted, and I can't wait until we meet again tomorrow. We are going to focus on Texas versus Michigan. Today was a lot of Colorado, Nebraska. We got the other big game, and we'll cover everything else that's going on. We got our eyes and ears out there for all the news, but we'll feature Texas and Michigan a little closer on tomorrow's podcast. All that right here on Locked On Big Ten. I'm Craig Sheeman. We'll talk to you next time.